Hello and welcome back to another recipe. Today we're going to do something really simple and easy, but really tasty and really great for springtime as well. One reason is because we're going to be using hog, which here is a mix between, it's the stage between lamb and full-grown sheep. So this is great for people who don't quite enjoy the taste of lamb, but don't quite enjoy the taste of full-grown mutton sheep either. This is just a really good cross. I prefer it at this stage as well. I think the fat content is brilliant. The amount of meat is just perfect. So this is really great for springtime. So we're going to start with some olive oil in the pan, and we're just going to layer some of these beautiful hog chops into this pan onto that olive oil, trying to get it in a single layer if you can. It doesn't matter if it overlaps a little bit, because at the end of the day it's going to be slow cooked. And this recipe is going to be cooking these beautiful hog chops in a really delicious tomato sauce. So let's just start by layering these up. This hog was really thoroughly washed, drained, and our next step is going to be to give it a really good sprinkling of salt and pepper. So we're going to start with some, I'm using coarsely ground black pepper. Sprinkle that on. And then some salt. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just sprinkle it on, make sure it gets enough. And then it's going to get another good glug of olive oil. Just layer it on. Not too much, make sure it's on there. And now I'm going to save myself and hopefully you a lot of mess. This is going to go under a hot grill as close as you can get it on the highest setting until it's browned really nicely on both sides. You could sear these in a pan before layering it into your dish, but I find because searing your colour, getting a bit of colour on there onto your meat gives it that really nice flavour, it makes it look better. I'm going to save myself the mess by searing it in a pan, and instead I'm going to sear it under a hot grill. So I'm just going to throw my meat under a hot grill until it's got a good brown on it. When your chops have browned on one side, you can flip them over. What I've done on the areas where they were looking a little bit too black too soon, I just covered them up with little pieces of foil. You'll find that the grilling in the grilling sear method isn't quite as effective as the pan method because it's going to doesn't sear it quite as evenly, but it's a great way to save mess, time, and keep all your juices in one pan. So flip them over. When you flip your chops over, just again, salt and pepper the other side. Do you want this to be tasty after all? Plenty of pepper and a little more salt. And this is going to go back into the oven until this side has seared too. Whilst the second side of the chops are searing, I'm just going to thickly cut some onions, 1/2 inch pieces. It doesn't have to be perfect. And these are going to be layered on top of the chops, just to give it a little bit of extra flavour and to protect them when they're cooking later. So I've seared the second part of the chops, and what we're going to do, the onions you cut earlier, you're going to layer these on. I don't know why I keep feeling tempted to call them potatoes. I usually add potatoes to this actually. So you're just going to roughly layer them on. Try to separate them if you can. I'm going to add a second onion. I know my family really like onions, but you can add it to your taste. What you could also do before you layer the onions on, you could slice some thick pieces of potato and layer it all over the chops. But today we just felt like doing this, just simple onions. I've just cracked open a couple of cans of tomatoes, and we're also going to season this generously with salt and pepper. Roughly chop some cloves of garlic. It doesn't have to be thin, just thick slices. Chop them up, and these are going to be added to your tomato mixture. Next we're just going to add a couple of teaspoons of paprika, sweet paprika. Let's add that in. And finally we're just going to add some crushed chili flakes. This is optional, I just want a little bit of spice to mine. And then mix that tomato mixture up. And finally we're going to layer this tomato mixture onto your chops, as evenly as you can get it. So we've laid the tomato on. One little tip, keep your onions away from the edges, this will just help prevent them burning, and try not to touch your tomato sauce right to the edges. Again, this just helps prevent them burning. And then you're going to cover this up with some foil. I've added a few green chilies just here and there, just cook into it. My parents love a little bit of extra spice, so this is there for them. So the chops are ready to go in the oven. I've set the temperature to 140 degrees Celsius, and these are going to cook for an hour and a half. An hour and a half has passed, so I'm going to rotate the dish because I know my oven isn't the best, it doesn't circulate the heat too well. So that's going to get rotated, and I'm going to turn the heat up to 160 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to let it finish cooking. This will take an extra hour of cooking just until it's tender. Just cook it as long as you need to until it's really tender. So this has been cooking for 2.5 hours. I've checked it, it's not quite tender yet, so I'm going to give it another hour to cook. If you think it's done for you by this point, your fork is going in easily, you can just leave it to rest for 15-20 minutes. I'm going to cook mine a little longer because it's full. And what you can do is baste the juices on top, just to make sure it's really nice and tasty and it stays nice and moist. I gave it an additional 30 to 45 minutes, and now my chops are really tender. Testing it with a fork, the fork goes into the meat quite easily. Oh, that's a bone. Just trying to find a bit of meat that I can test. So if you can see, the fork slides in and out very easily. And now what you're going to do is cover the chops and leave it to rest for about 20 minutes. And this will again help the meat to just relax further. It'll help those juices flow back into the meat and will make the final product just much juicier, much tastier, and just taste much better. So have that patience to wait. And that's all there is to it. I did some oven chips. You could do some roasties. I wanted to use up what I had. There's some sauteed kale, some broccoli and peas, and it's that simple. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please do leave a like, subscribe and click that notification bell. Thank you.